I'm tired. But I remember something. Do you remember being in school? You get asked a question by your friends or kids in the school, and it was, would you do this for £1,000? Would you do this for 100,000? Would you do this for 1,000,000? And it was always the most disgusting thing you could think of. And then some of the kids would be like, yeah, I would. Yeah, for that much, yeah, I would. I remember some of the shit they would say. It was, would you do this to like a family member for this much? Or would you eat shit or something for this much? And all those, I remember looking at those individuals that would say, yeah, I would do it. Part of me is looking at them now thinking, were they joking? But I don't think they were. I think there's a lot of people that would do shit for some money. And I watched this thing, I think the guy's called Terrence Howard, and he was referring to what would potentially happen at those Diddy parties. And he said those guys who did things that they knew they shouldn't have done never fully recover. And the host who was interviewing him said, what do you mean? And he said, once a man loses his masculinity, he can never go back. And it clicked at that point, because a lot of these, would you do this? Some of it were acts that were really against your manhood. And I remember feeling weird. Like, this is like, well, firstly, why would you ask that question? And there's no money worth sacrificing yourself for it. And I think there's just certain individuals and people in the world that would sacrifice it. Actually, you know what? They think it's not a sacrifice, but it would be a sacrifice because they wouldn't be able to live with themselves. And if they did, they have the ability to compartmentalize some horrible shit. But I think it has something to do with that. I think there is a principle within masculinity, manhood, which differentiates from emotions. It's something like, I will not do this because it will compromise this. And it's like a hard line. It's not an ambiguity. It's not a feeling, or maybe it's grounded in a feeling, but you may feel like you might need to, but you would be willing to sacrifice everything for that principle. I will not do this. And if you look at manhood in general over, like, you know, being men who died on the Titanic and shit like that, and going to war, to head to your potential death, there has to be a higher order principle that you're willing to abide by that goes beyond how you feel. So running back to those silly questions that you would get asked in school, it was, I would fully compromise that thing if I was to do it. So no amount of money is worth my spirit, because I have to live with myself at the end of the day. So why would I do that? I just thought it was interesting.